Hello, this is Jim Bob Duggar, and we want to invite you to a family conference in Big Sandy, Texas. This is something that we've been going to for over 25 years.
And there's something for everyone in the family. We consider it kind of like an old-time camp meeting with great speakers, incredible messages that will encourage the parents and the children as well.
There's a lot of great speakers. It's just an activity for everyone. So we encourage you to load up your family and head to Texas.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Friday, October 14th. Do you know what week it is? Do you have any idea? It's Big Sandy's family conference. You know what that is, right? It's the big conference for the IBLP that happens every single year in Texas. The Duggars always used to do little videos and tell people to come to the conference and hang out with them. Remember that?
All variety of backgrounds that come here to this homeschool conference.
We got to see a lot of families that we only get to see once a year, and so we got to see the Kellers, Anna's family, the Bates, the Wilsons.
Well, you got everything, including the kitchen sink. Really exciting to be here with everybody and just all the different activities for all the kids.
This year at Big Sandy, I got to do orchestra.
So that's happening right now in Texas, and this is an event that Josh and Anna Duggar would go to every single year. And this year, the IBLP sent him a message. But before I get into the message that the IBLP sent to Josh, I want to talk to you about some new developments in Josh's appeal and a little bit of some legal shade that was thrown at Josh, which I always enjoy a little bit of shade here. So let's talk about the new developments in Josh's appeal and Josh Duggar's message from the IBLP after his dad and his dad's friends had branded Josh the next coming of Jesus, the prophet, the president of the United States. Before we get into it, please do me a huge favor, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, think about subscribing and click that subscribe button. And make sure to turn those notifications on, please, if you'd like to receive notifications. Make sure, if you could, to give this video a thumbs up, as well as to please leave some comments if you have something to say or you like this kind of content. And as always, share the video with your friends. We love to have our tea, right? So let's talk about what's going on in the appeals court down in Arkansas and discuss what's happening in Texas. This video is going to be amusing for some of you. Okay, so by now you know that Josh has filed his appeal for his conviction, and he is effectively blaming Caleb Williams for doing all of the stuff that he did. And he's claiming that he wasn't granted the ability to have a complete defense. There's all the same arguments that he's done over the last year, and the stuff that he's already tried to get Judge Brooks to grant to him. Now he's asking the appeals court to overrule Judge Brooks and give him a new trial. Well, the appeals court prosecutor for the U.S. government has sought an extension for their response to his appeal, and check this out. So it says, Duggar timely appealed the judgment. Says Duggar timely appealed the judgment on June 6th of 2022. This court issued a briefing schedule setting a deadline of August 1st for his opening brief. Duggar thereafter requested and received 3 extensions totaling 63 days. He submitted his opening brief on October 3rd, and this court issued a notice of docket activity filing his brief the following day. The government's response brief is presently due October 25th. So if you're Josh Duggar and your original deadline was August 1st and you requested 3 extensions for 63 days, I felt like that was thrown in there as a way to say, like, dude delayed this all the time, and now I'm being expected to put this together, a response, in 2 weeks. Yo, give me some more time here. He went on to say, a 21-day extension is necessary to allow adequate time to prepare the response in light of other pressing deadlines faced by undersigned government counsel. Undersigned counsel was not involved in the district court proceedings in this case and requires additional time to digest the trial record and develop the government's appellate arguments. While this matter is a priority, we have also been responsible for presenting arguments in, he lists a few other cases, which is on October 7th, and drafting a supplemental brief for another case, which is on the 19th, and then filing another brief for another case on the 28th. So he's basically asking that they give him 21 days, basically giving him until November 15th, 2022 for it. And he says that Duggars counsel does not oppose that. And so it was approved by the court. And so let's talk about this. He will have a brand new attorney. So in the federal court, they actually, for appeals, have specific attorneys that just work on the appellate side, which is awesome because it doesn't then impact the attorneys that do the criminal side that have to prosecute all the bad guys. So on this, you're getting an expert in appeals, an expert appellate court arguer, someone that's familiar with the appellate court system and knows how to draft and put together a good argument for the government. But it's going to take him a little bit more time to do so. And I'll be interested to see what he will come back with because he is brand new to this, to see how he argues the cases and the points that Carly Marshall, Dustin Roberts had already presented to Judge Brooks, who basically denied Josh's requests for new trial and all of that. So a little bit longer until we find out what the government's response is. I have a pretty good idea of what it will be, but we'll just have to wait and see. So while we're waiting for that, the cult camp at Big Sandy, the family conference, the annual conference that happens in Big Sandy, Texas in October of every single fall is happening right now. It's a week-long camp at the Alert Academy down in Big Sandy where all the IBLP families get together. Well, for some reason this year they have a lot of speakers that are not normal. The Duggars are not speaking. The Bates family is not speaking, which are normal mainstays. There's no big names that are actually speaking at this event. And it's interesting because during one of their speaking sermons, one of the pastors spoke about prison bars. And I thought this was like, okay, this is a message to Josh maybe, since he's got prison bars. So the message was, the glory of God is revealed through how we handle our prison bars correctly. And that's Eric Lundy, okay? And then the actual quote says, 2 men looked through prison bars. One saw mud and the other saw stars. So find the stars, Josh. Find the stars. So let me tell you about a funny story, maybe not so funny, about during the or after the arrest and during the investigation for Josh. So we had talked about how at one point in time, they were saying that this was like a Biden orchestrated like government persecution of going after the Duggars because they don't like the Duggars' beliefs. And so there was this belief that the Duggars were pushing that it was this conspiracy that the government was planting evidence or someone was planting evidence on the Duggars because they didn't like the Duggars' beliefs. Got it? So I wish I was joking when I told you this, but I'm not. A couple sources have reached out to me throughout the process, and I don't know why I never shared this with you. I actually shared this on my Instagram a couple days ago. But so during that time, basically what was happening is they were comparing Josh to the Apostle Paul. And if you remember, the Apostle Paul was imprisoned for a period of time. And Paul's imprisonment did not involve CSAM, mind you. But they were basically trying to claim that that Josh had been wrongly imprisoned like Paul. Josh and the Duggar family were being tested like the Apostle Paul. And that because of that, Josh was going to become the next Paul. He was going to be able to use what he learned through this persecuting process. That's what they said. They were being persecuted to spread the word of God. Like this was going to be like a way for Josh to increase God's, I don't even know, word on the planet Earth. The whole thing seemed so far-fetched and delusional. I was like, I can't believe this. But two people told me the same story about how they were comparing Josh to the Apostle Paul and how this was going to be used as a way to spread the word of the gospel, and that Josh was going to be the one that was going to do it. And I was like, I cannot believe this. After everything he's done, I can't believe there's people that still believe this, but alas. So then two other people I spoke to were explaining to me, and now this story actually comes back from when Josh was like a little boy. And it's two former church people that went to church with the Duggars that told me the story. So apparently when Josh was like a little boy, and Jim Bob's talked about this a little bit, about how like he brought Josh to the Capitol when he was a little boy, and they would, Josh was just like a natural. He got along with all the kids. Like he literally was like charismatic and dynamic, and like all these little politicians were like, oh, he's like the next governor. And so they would call him like Mr. Governor, or they'd call him Mr. President. The friends from church explained to me that Josh was a very personable little boy that was really, really outspoken and funny and engaging. And it was a characteristic that Jim Bob lacked. Like Jim Bob is more quiet, and he's not the best public speaker. And so his natural charisma isn't there. He has sons that have better charisma than him, and he felt like Josh was the answer. So because of that, he and his friends, I was told this, would allegedly pray for Josh, because they would pray for him because he was going to be the answer for the conservative agenda. So he was going to be their, like, we earmark him as a child. We are going to push him and groom him and create him and craft him into becoming the next president of the United States, the next, like, philosophical and theological leader of Christianity. He's going to be like the next God of the United States, basically. He was effectively like anointed like a little prophet as a child. And they all said that he had this gift. And so they would pray that for God's guidance and for Josh's strength for him to help achieve that goal. They believed that Josh was going to be the answer. Like seriously, can you imagine a dad being like, yeah, my kid's going to be the president of the United States, and he's going to be the answer to all the problems in the United States, and he's going to, not only that, he's going to be like the leader of all God people in the United States. It's wild. So Jim Bob has had this attachment to Josh and Josh's place in the world for a very long time. He's had maybe delusions of grandeur by proxy, making Josh almost like a godlike figure in his life. And Jim Bob also has a very high opinion of himself, allegedly. So he has spent a lot of his time and energy protecting Josh because he truly has believed that Josh was going to be the next thing. And they've looked at these stumbling instances with Josh as the devil. I can't even tell you, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. The devil is doing this to Josh because they know that Josh is the next leader, and the devil hates people that are going to bring the light out. And so they're going to put things in that person's life to prevent them, to make them stumble. So really, it's not Josh that's doing any of this. It's the devil trying to prevent Josh's greatness. And they can't let Satan win. The mental gymnastics these people do is wild. So that was what was going around before his conviction and leading up to his arrest and the investigation. I don't know if that's where they are today, but this message about two men sitting outside of the prison or sitting in their bar, and one saw mud and one saw stars, seems like a message to Josh, almost in the extent that, Josh, don't see the mud, see the opportunity of this moment, see the stars, be like Paul, use this to spread the word, change lives while you're inside, get through this persecution, and defeat Satan while you're in jail. Now, if you're wondering, now this is alleged, but multiple people told me the story. If you're wondering, like, are these just like real rational thoughts, or are there mental health issues going on here? And, you know, it's interesting because I did speak to Deanna, his sister, last year and even recently, and she's talked at great length about her father, and so JL, and the mental health issues that she believes her dad had. from like very significant anger problems, lots of rage, lots of instability that they grew up in. And she has the sense that, you know, some of that has trickled down into the family. So other people might be dealing with similar things like her dad was dealing with. And so she also said that Jim Bob, because he grew up with such instability, she believed that he was going to do whatever he could to not have to like have the opposite of that. So he almost became more controlling, and his ego and his like narcissism just went through the roof. But he didn't have the most stable home environment with his dad. And so, you know, and she said so many times her dad had serious mental health issues. So you start to wonder, like, when they have these like really delusional thoughts about like my son is the next coming of God and he's the Apostle Paul. Those are like, it's one thing to like literally believe that wholeheartedly, which I was told is what they were doing. They literally believe this, than to just like have a casual conversation about it. You know, you almost start to wonder is mental health a factor in here? And then the sad part is because the IBLP does not believe in treatment for mental illness, so many people in this group, in this cult, just are suffering unnecessarily with severe mental health issues that could be easily resolved, or not maybe easily resolved, but better handled and managed with a doctor and with medications and with therapy. The IBLP's damage isn't just about the damage to children, it's the damage that it does to the minds and the illnesses that don't get treated. And look at what can happen with delusions that can happen where you manifest a belief that your child is God. It's crazy to me. So Josh is going to have to wait to see what the government has to say. Jim Bob believed his son was a god, allegedly, and the next coming of Christ and the president. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.